Hi guys, and welcome to the first Ace Tanker and my first impressions of the FV201 or the A45. I'm just going to probably call it the FV201. I was planning two videos today. I was planning a first impressions video and I was planning an Ace Tanker video, but unfortunately time constraints means that I don't have time to make two, and I'm just going to have to do this one video and just tell you about some of the stuff I was planning to show you in the other video. But this tank, it's the tier 7 British heavy premium tank. It is currently available in the gift shop as part of the Gamescom special. It was also offered as a reward tank on other servers, but we can buy it here in the EU without having to do a huge grind mission. I know some players were unhappy with that, but I'm actually quite happy because the grind mission looked very difficult. I'd rather just throw some money at Wargaming and get the tank without having to go through the hassle, and it's much cheaper on the EU server than if you were to buy it on, for example, the NA server without going through the grind. So yeah, I know some people have complained, but for once I actually think the EU got the better deal. But FV201, what can I say about this tank? Well, it's a tank that actually surprised me. I think it's a little bit better than I was expecting. When I was reading about this tank before it was released, I thought, oh dear, this is going to be so bad. Why would anyone want an FV201? But having said that, it's definitely not as bad as the Heavy Tank 6, which is an absolute travesty, but we'll get to that in a future video. The FV201 surprised me. I had a very good first game and it left a very positive impression, but I was top tier. And then after that I started getting it into tier 9 games, and yeah, my impression is not quite so positive. The tank has a lot of problems, starting off with the armor. The armor is awful on this tank. Now, having said that, you've got to remember it is a tier 7 heavy tank. That puts it up against tanks like the Tiger. And up against tanks like the Tiger, it's got very similar armor. You've got roughly about 110 millimeters on the lower glacis. Lots of tanks are going to be able to go through this. Next negative for the tank, actually, before we go into the armor, is the fact that just like the Tiger, it doesn't get special matchmaking, so it will see tier 9s. So while people might complain about the armor on this tank, remember, it's a Tiger. Just play it the same way you'd play a Tiger in a tier 9 game. It's going to be a support tank because your armor is Tiger levels of armor. 109 millimeters of penetration on the lower glacis, 124 on the upper glacis. Again, terrible when you consider you're facing tier 9s, but as soon as tanks get above you in any way, even on a slight rise on the ground, look at the effective armor. It drops so quickly. It can drop to about 90, 80, 70. Anything shooting down on you from above is going to pen absolutely no problems. You can see the top of this tank at this angle, only 49. This area on top of the turret is only 66 millimeters at this angle. So tanks that get above you get a huge advantage. If tanks get to the rise, if you're fighting on a hill and enemy tanks are on the other side of that hill and get to the top of the hill before you, and there's a good chance they will because this isn't a quick tank, if they get to have shots down on you, you're going to die really quickly. Yeah, the armor, it's almost like Tiger standards of armor from the front. Now people, it is the Carnarvon turret. It is the Carnarvon turret, but I don't think it's as good as the Carnarvon turret, because I find the Carnarvon turret very troll. This thing, it has a great gun mantlet, just like the Carnarvon, although some areas, this area here, I don't know what this is, but it's only 103 millimeters of penetration. Just below this square area to the left of the gun mantlet, our gun is only 103, so you can be penned through the gun mantlet. However, more often than not, I get penned through the top of the tank. Now, this is very well angled, but yet it's very thin armor. So it's only 95 millimeters of effective armor. Now, it's a 100% chance of a pen from a this gun, a 17-pounder gun, head on. If you hit here, it's only 94 millimeters of penetration, and the armor is inconsistent, because if you head from the right side of the tank over to the left side of the tank, the left side of this turret is actually weaker than the right. So yeah, Commander's Hatch, also a weak spot. It's only 90 millimeters of effective armor. So yeah, lots of tanks, most tanks that shoot this and can shoot at weak spots are going to be able to pen this area of your tank, even if you're going hull down, or they're going to be able to pen your turret. The only time this area of your armor is effective is if you're on a hill and you're using your gun depression and tanks have to shoot up at you. Then the effective armor can get a little bit better. You can see it increases up to 284 in some areas, but still it's not great. It's still not great. Tanks who shoot the top of your turret are going to pen. So yeah, front of the turret, front of the tank, not very well armored if you're fighting an experienced player. The side armor is absolutely terrible as well, and this is where the Tiger is better, because you can side scrape in a Tiger. This tank is a little bit more difficult. You do have a little bit of spaced armor on the side of the tracks. You've got 6 millimeters of side skirting, but the side of the tank is only 50 millimeters. The side skirting, as I say, is about 56. Where did I see that? I've lost it now. Oh, there you go. There's an area about 56. Side armor is inconsistent. It can eat tracks, or it can eat shots, but not often enough. And this is where the tank really let me down in the games I played yesterday. You see, the tank is the turret is mounted very far back on the tank, and as a result, you expose a huge amount of your tank as you're coming around corners, even before you can get your gun on target. And not only that, but even before you can see enemy tanks hiding around that corner. They can see you a long time before you can see them. And if you get tracked coming around a corner, you're not even going to see who's shooting you, because your turret, you just don't have the view range. The tank is so long. You can see how far the hull extends in front of the tank. Now, yesterday on Himmelsdorf, in my it was my fourth game. In my fourth game yesterday on Himmelsdorf, I got tracked by an SU-100 M1 as I was coming around a corner. I thought he was at the end of the road, and he was just shooting me, and he was shooting me right here. Just the very tip of my tracks. He was tracking me, he was penning me over and over again. I couldn't see him, but when another tank showed up where he was, it turned out he was only about 55 meters away. But completely blind, completely helpless. He could put shots through my track. Big problem with this tank. You're going to see it in this game as well. When you're trying to take this tank around corners, you expose a huge amount of your tank before you can even get your gun on target or see what's shooting you. The rear of the tank is bloody awful, 38 millimeters. If you've got a gun that's firing HE, try to get to the rear of these things. You can one-hit kill them pretty much from the rear. Back of the turret is a little bit better, 88 millimeters, but on the top of the tank, guys, if you are playing RT, yes, you're going to want to shoot these things. They're very slow. On the top of the tank, 14 millimeters of effective armor, 28 millimeters. RT magnets, that's what these tanks are going to be. So the tank has a lot of problems. It's slow, very slow, difficult to get into position or out of position. It's also got terrible armor. Really, the armor is really bad. But as I say, look at the hull armor, pretty much like a Tiger. The turret armor is very weak if you're up against someone who knows what they're doing. If you're up against someone who doesn't know what they're doing, they're just going to be penning your gun mantlet and not doing any damage. But it's the Carnarvon turret, so it can be good if you manage to get it on a hill, use it as a hill warrior. It also doesn't get special matchmaking, so it will see tier 9s. Now, the AT-15A got the same gun, the same 17-pounder as the FV201, and that used to see tier 9s as well. It's another tier 7 premium British tank, but it used to see tier 9s. It got buffed. One of the main reasons it got buffed was the gun was just not good enough against tier 9s, and This gun is exactly the same gun, and it didn't get buffed, so this will see tier 9s. The AT-15A doesn't see tier 9s anymore. It is a very good gun. It's the 17 pounder, standard 17 pounder. Love this gun on most tanks it's on. It's a great gun on the Firefly. It's a great gun on something like the Archer, the TOG, the AT-15A. I've already mentioned it already. Even the Black Prince. It's a great gun on most tanks it's on. However, on this tank, it's a little bit lackluster. As I say, it will see tier 9s, but it's okay. It's okay. I found the accuracy not as good as I thought it would be. I didn't find the penetration that bad. Could aim for weak spots, but yep, the gun is rapid firing, and it's okay. It's the 17 pounder. You should be used to that gun by now if you're driving British tanks, but you do have to fire carry quite a bit of premium ammo, down to the fact you're going to be seeing tier 9s, and 171mm of penetration is not enough against tier 9s. Even the premium ammo can let you down against some tier 9s, but it's not going to be a great moneymaker as a result of carrying so much premium ammo. So yeah, the tank does have problems, but it's not terrible. The gun is rapid firing. If you know how to use the gun, it's a good gun. It's not a great tank, but putting it into context, I actually think it's as good as the Tiger, and the Tiger sees tier 9s as well, although the Tiger does get a huge benefit of having side armor and being able to side scrape a little bit more effectively than this tank. Yeah, if you go hull down, play it like an American tank, go hull down, use its gun depression, very, very good gun depression, then I think the tank can be played quite well. As I say, I've actually had very good games in this tank, and I've had very bad games in this tank. It goes one way or the other. This is a tier 9 game here on Ensk. It's my first ace tanker in the tank. It's my third game in the tank. And I do get a little bit lucky. Managed to farm up some XP on a tank that either goes AFK or DCs, I'm not quite sure, but we're worst case scenario, tier 9 game, only 3 tier 9s on the enemy team, but on the other hand there's no RT. You can see the slow speed here, it's only doing 30 kilometers an hour, it's even struggling to reach 30 kilometers an hour. So yeah, still learning the tank, still getting used to the tank when I'm playing this. As I say, it's my third game. I did have another video planned full of highlights of all the weaknesses, but I just don't have time to put it together today. So rushing this one out instead. So first shot, VK. Thought I had a side shot. Maybe I aimed badly. It went a little bit high, hit the bottom of his turret. But we're just working this corner here, using this bush to try and give me a little bit of a camo at distance. Now, I do have to mention I've got a very bad crew in this. I use all my premium tanks to train up bad crews, so whenever I'm playing a premium tank, I use that opportunity to give bad crews a workout. This is my current Black Prince crew, which I bought brand new for the Black Prince in order to get an ace tanker. But no sixth sense, and we're just set up here on the corner, and finally, KV3 advances. Now I have no sixth sense, don't know if he spotted me. It looks to me as if he's aiming towards me. And then I notice his gun pointing slightly away. Yeah, his gun is just pointed behind him. So we're just putting shots in here through the bush. I have no idea whether or not I'm spotted, but I think this guy maybe answered the phone or answered the door or something, because his turret moved just as I fired, and since then he hasn't moved, but he's tracked. He's looking behind him. We set him on fire. That's 1,000 damage thanks to that KV3. VK in the distance. Oh, I must have been spotted because the VK bounces. Don't know where that shot bounced. Can't see where the... oh, he hit my gun mantlet, just the edge of my gun mantlet. But you can see I'm looking to my right because we've lost the other flank. Now, you've got to keep an eye on the minimap in this tank. I've discovered that because the moment you stop looking at the minimap is the moment this tank dies. If you get surrounded, if you get tracked down, the tank is just too slow to run away, too slow to relocate. You cannot leave things till the last minute. So I was already moving, I was already keeping an eye on that minimap. Even while I was shooting the VK, I was keeping an eye on the minimap. So go for a blind shot under the railway tracks, and I think it hit. Enemy armor is down. but we get another shot into the T-43, and as you can see, I'm still falling back. I'd love to help the Waffenträger Panzer IV, but no way I can help him. Not in this tank. Remember, I'm a Tier 7, fighting Tier 8s, Tier 9s, but T-43, you can see the gun, rapid firing. Our team have wrapped around. They are putting shots down through the railway lines. But unfortunately, a lot of our tanks seem to have gone towards the field while we continue working here. So I'm running out of friends. I'm rapidly running out of friends here. So you can see I'm still reversing, only doing about 14 kilometers an hour in reverse. Still trying to keep distance between myself and enemy tanks. So, getting back. Oh, IS-6 missed. Try and track the IS-6. Don't have the alpha damage too. But here you're going to see why I love the 17-pounder on pretty much every tank. Take a big hit from an IS-6 firing gold, and tracked him as he came around the corner. So, T-44 pins me because the hull armor is terrible. We take out the IS-6. Look at this. Get a shot into his T-44, try and track him. Lack of alpha damage. Get a shot into the T-43, and look at the rate of fire. Just miss out on a kill. Panzer tracks me, but T-44 tracked again. Second shot into his tracks, and again, he can't hit me now. So look at the rate of fire. This is what this tank has done, good for. So I'm responsible for 3 kills here, tracking enemy tanks or hitting them in the tracks as they came around the corner. 17-pounder is great for this. Now I'm slowing it down to half speed because, as I say, there's a problem with this tank in that the hull extends all the way up here. You can actually get shot in the hull by shots even through the very, very tip of your tracks here. The turret is mounted very, very far back. This is my 3rd game. I didn't realize this. Realized it soon afterwards, but yeah, I'm going to start taking damage here even when I didn't think the Panther had shots. So we're on half speed. So Panther managed to hit the Panther, but the Panther gets shot in as I come around the corner. So I'm moving forward. Now my rate of fire is just as good as the Panther's, I reckon. But I'm coming around the corner, and again he's able to hit me. And the next problem I need to mention for this game, or for this tank, he gets one shot in. Now I didn't think he could pin me at that angle, but we're moving around, and the front of my tank is just so... Look at that. He could shoot the corner of my tank just because it showed around the corner. But here we go. His reload was quick enough, and he ammo racks me. He ammo racks me, and there we go. This is game over. Yeah. So if I hadn't been ammo racked and fluffed my shot, or if I'd rolled a little bit higher, I would have lived through that. Panther got away with 31, but he ammo racked me, which means I couldn't reload in time to kill him. Yeah, not a great ending to the game, but 3,101 damage. You can see how rapid firing this tank is. You can see that when you get side shots, this tank, the gun is great. The gun is very, very good, and most of the damage I did in that game was by side shooting tanks. Now the game goes on for quite a while, but ammo rack, other big problem with this tank. Shots through the front of this tank are going to take out your driver, they're going to take out your ammo rack. In pretty much every single game where I played yesterday and I got shot in the front or the lower glacis, I got ammo racked. The only games I didn't get ammo racked were those games where no one was able to shoot me. So ammo rack, big problem on this tank. Like a lot of British tanks, but I think it's even worse on this than a lot of British tanks I play. So that was my first ace tanker in the tank. No other medals, but first one has to go up on the channel. I finished top on XP with 1478, 3,247 damage done. So one of my blind shots, that blind shot under the railway cars, did go in. Just the 2 kills, but I was bottom tier, tier 7, tier 9 game. You can see what this tank is capable of, what the gun is capable of when you keep an eye on the minimap, relocate, use the rapid fire of the gun to track enemy tanks, try and get assistance damage. As you can see, we picked up 1,000 assistance damage as well. 31 shots fired, I hit 26, pen 22, so gun a little bit lackluster. I found it not as good a sniper as I was hoping for, but it's okay. And I spotted 5, damaged 5, destroyed 2, didn't spot any tanks, but As I say, 1,000 assistance damage, wasn't firing any premium in that game, and still made a profit of about 75,000 credits with a premium account. Yeah, the tank, it's not terrible. I think I played about 10 games yesterday in this tank. I think 5 of them were good. I would classify as good games, and I think 5 of them were terrible. I didn't have very many average games in this tank. I either got destroyed very, very easily, or I had pretty good games. Really, this tank's biggest strength is it's a hill warrior. You've got to go hull down, you've got to use slopes, you've got to get to the top of hills, use its gun depression. The only armor this tank has is its gun mantlet. If you don't use the gun mantlet and enemy tanks are shooting at you, you're going to take damage, your crew members are going to die, your ammo rack is going to get destroyed constantly, sometimes more than once in the same game, and it's not a fun tank to play. But putting it in context, frontally the armor is as good as it is on a Tiger, so play it pretty much like you would a Tiger in a tier 9 game, and it's okay. Yeah, it's not as bad as I thought it would. I don't think it's a great tank, but it's not as bad as I thought it would be. The stats for this tank made it look a lot worse, but it's playable, but I can't recommend it. I definitely think there are better premium tanks at tier 7 out there, yeah, I wouldn't really want to get this tank unless I was desperate to train British heavy tank crews. The TOG is already there. I would rather play this than the TOG. This is less situational than the TOG, believe it or not, but I don't need to train British heavy crews. I've got all the British tanks I want, all the British heavy tanks I want. I've got all the crews I want, so I don't see myself playing too many games in this tank. But yeah, I don't get it, guys, unless you're serious about training British heavy crews, or unless you're a tank collector. I think the SU-12244 that I reviewed recently is a much better tier 8 or tier 7 premium tank that's a lot more fun to play and a lot less situational. But anyhow, rushed video again. Thanks for watching. I'll see you next time.